Hi guys! Welcome back to the Unraveling the World podcast.
Before we get into today's episode, let's hear from our sponsors.
This episode is sponsored by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain it to you really quickly. To start off, it's 100% free, and there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it could be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more platforms. In fact, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Okay, so on this week's episode, we're joined with Daphne, a former student at WWP High School South. So Daphne, we would love if you could just introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Daphne. I just graduated from South, so I was a member of the class of 2021. I've been in the school district since first grade, so it's been really great, growing up here and seeing everybody else thrive as we go off. I guess in high school, I was pretty involved with academics and with the school in general, so I'll be happy to, talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah, so to kind of ask the first question, you mentioned how you've been in the district since first grade. So if you could kind of maybe tell us what was your favorite part about living in WWP?
Yeah, of course. I think the best thing about West Windsor Plainsboro is the fact that the district gives us so many opportunities to explore our different interests. And I know that a lot of people can sometimes feel like it means that they feel stressed out because of everything that's available to them. But I think, looking back, once we're out of the district now, I feel it's definitely been really, really great. And looking back on the just chances we've had to explore through our classes and through our clubs and through the wonderful teachers and everything.
Yeah, I feel like that's such an important part to really appreciate the smaller things, like having these good teachers and these classmates that you don't really think that after you graduate. I can imagine you, even if you didn't necessarily talk to your classmates, it's just having their company all the time in these classes. It's a huge part of going to high school. And with this, which last year with Corona and everything, I feel like our mind put us in this really dark spot, and we kind of were forced to focus on these negative things, which is why I feel like it's so important to take that extra step and divert your mind and to focus on these good things. So
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I had another question. You mentioned how WWP can sometimes be a little bit stressful, or because there are a wide variety of options that the school district has to offer. I was just wondering how were you ever how did you deal with pressure in a district like WWP, considering that there's a high level of competition?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that the competition is something that, even if you're not a naturally competitive person, the pressure can really get to you. And I think the main thing is just adopting a mindset where you think that when you realize, the successes of others doesn't detract from your own achievements. And, that I think being in WWP, it's very easy to sometimes be caught in the mindset that the competition is the most important thing. But when you take a step back and you kind of look and you more consider it as a way for you to cheer on somebody else, I think that mindset shift, that's a really, really healthy way to consider things.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because I feel oftentimes when we're caught up in the competition, even if we don't realize that there is competition among us, I feel some people, even maybe your closest friends, if someone achieves something, maybe you can sometimes feel a pang of jealousy, even if you don't necessarily mean it. So I think that it's important to keep in mind to be happy of other people's achievements like along the way.
Yeah, in this school district especially, I feel like it's really evident, like through, like honestly, like I'm not that much of a competitive person, but like the second I entered high school, I feel like everyone was, with having all these like extracurriculars and everything was just like in my face. And even though I necessarily didn't want to be, I don't know, like quote unquote, like competitive, I was just like, I almost felt like I was forced into being like that because everyone, not necessarily everyone, but like before I even entered high school, I got into a mindset that like high school, and I have to do all these things to actually be successful. But then through that, I got into a mindset that I had to like always be better than others, always accomplish more. Like if they're getting this, I have to do better than that, and it's like not that at all. Like I totally agree with that. Like you're like seeing someone else accomplish things that you wish like they don't define you. Like you're better than that. Like come on. So I just had to like adapt my mindset definitely to that. So yeah.
I'd agree. And I had another question for Daphne, kind of relating to this. What, if anything, do you think you would have wished you'd known earlier or could have improved on, like throughout your high school career?
Oh, I think this one, that's a really good question. I think if I had known one thing that I could have done differently, it's that there's something that I read about recently. It's called the 53 rule. And what it means is 50% of the things that you do will have like 3% of the impact of your life. And so like maybe like if your room is overcluttered, and I'm going a little off tangent here, but if your room is really cluttered with stuff and you can't bear yourself to like throw away everything in it, oftentimes like half of the stuff in your room can account for really only like 3% of the stuff that you reach for. And so West Windsor, and I think high school in general for people who are listening outside of the district, West Windsor has so many opportunities available to us. We have so many clubs, so many amazing sports to take advantage of. And so it can be really easy to get in the mindset that you have to do it all. And with classes too, like it's really easy to fall into this like mindset that you should take every single hard class because it'll help you the most or it'll challenge you the most. In reality, I think you need to like, if I had known one thing, I would have known that I should have been searching for things to do that really fit me instead of just trying to do as much as I could. So if I could offer one piece of advice, I think it would be that. Or if I could change one thing, I would go back and do that.
Yeah, you can go.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, so kind of connecting to Melvina's previous question, I wanted to ask, what would you say was the hardest part of high school? And if anything, do you think, what do you think was the hardest part of high school in general?
I think for me, the hardest part of high school was the jump, I think, from year to year, or from middle school to high school, honestly, because I wouldn't say that the jump itself was the hardest part, but maybe just having that ability to like persevere and continue on. I think a lot of people come in from middle school to high school, or from turning from an underclassman to an upperclassman with that mindset that they need to get ready to work a lot harder. And I think that a lot of people have success in making that initial jump, but then having the strength and like having that endurance to keep pushing through, that is definitely a really that can be a hard part for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Because burnout is definitely something that a lot of us struggle with. And so, probably, like being able to continue up that uphill climb throughout high school and just surviving high school, I would say would be the hardest part.
I feel like another thing, including like adding on to you, I feel like another thing that adds, like, for me, it's like not necessarily when I was jumping from 8th grade to 9th grade, but when I moved here from India, right? So like I feel like if jumping from 8th grade to 9th grade, I feel like for me was really similar to the time that I moved from India to here. Just like the similar, it just had similar things that I had to like do and had to change, like how I was like not necessarily behaving, but how I was like interacting with how I was changing myself to fit into the environment that I was in. So I feel like that was just a similar like connection that I made, just moving from India to here from like 8th grade, so 8th grade to 9th grade. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to bring up. And I think that burnouts, like, that's an important point to bring up. And that leads to another question that I wanted to ask, like how you were able to balance your work and social life, especially because in like times of high school it can become really stressful, you know, like having to balance different kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. I think that for me, and you know, this is just for me specifically, I would tend to usually prioritize my work over my social life, but then that meant that I could be really isolated at times. And, you know, like working alone is never fun. So I think that with regard to balancing work and social life, as long as you have your priorities and you are able to balance your time, I think that it's definitely more than possible to have a really great high school experience and, you know, like be really proud of the work that you did too and the friends that you're with. And I think a very important thing to like keep in mind is that a lot of when it comes to worrying about your friendships and your relationships, a lot of it is like very transitory. And so if you're letting something, like if something is on your mind and it's really bothering you and, you know, preventing you from focusing, that's one thing. And I think that if you're having that issue, it's very good to, you know, keep in perspective that high school is only 4 years. But it's also really important to, you know, be able to have fun while also being able to juggle all of your work. And I think that just having a really great support system is the best way to do that. And so, you know, like reach out to the friends that always support you and have your back. And I think friends that will understand if you have to cancel to study, and friends that will also, you know, like drag you out and make sure you have a study break, like that kind of thing. So just having a really strong support system.
So who would you say was your biggest, like, your support system?
I would say definitely my friends and my family. I would say that they're in different ways, you know, they both were able to like really help me stay grounded throughout high school. You know, always talking to your parents will help you get perspective about the things that are stressing you out at the moment. Spending time with your friends will remind you of, you know, like all of the great things you have to look forward to, you know, even if you're in a moment where you're really, really stressed out. So definitely, you know, like talk to your family, talk to your friends.
Yeah, I definitely agree because, I mean, even though I just got out of 9th grade, like the end of the marking period was a little bit stressful, especially, you know, balancing with extracurriculars and also going for sports and coming back at like 6 o'clock. It was kind of hard. So having to do work like kind of late at night and catching up because I had to miss, you know, some periods in order to make it to practice on time. I think that I found myself like kind of just staying at home, and then I had friends who would like drag me out because I wasn't going out or biking or just, you know, like doing what I normally used to do. So I think that having a great support system is definitely a key to being, you know, a happier person.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'd say my mom is probably my biggest support system. Like, I don't know, she supports me through everything. She always makes sure that, like, obviously sometimes when I'm having too much fun, she's like, you know, you have to study. And when I'm studying too much, she's like, no, you need to take a little break. Like, maybe watch something for like 30 minutes or like just take a break. You know, like she's always, and if I've been studying for like, say, like a week straight, she'd be like, no, she'd literally take me to the mall. She'd be like, no, you have to get to the mall with me. And like, I don't know, we don't even have to buy anything. We just get ice cream from like Haagen-Dazs. But it's like small things. You know, she's like probably my support system. She's really helpful.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, that is so sweet. I feel like for me, I don't necessarily like, obviously my family, they're like literally my biggest support system, like my sister and my dog. But like I feel like another part of having like a good support system is honestly just yourself. It's like deciphering the difference between like getting your priorities straight, obviously, but also like taking that extra time. And sometimes you just need like alone time, and you just need to do what you want to do, like whether it be like read a book or like go swim or something. But like having that extra time, just free time to do what you like, but also like studying, because you can't just like do that all the time. But yeah.
Yeah, and I want to ask, I'm sorry, I have another question. It's relating to South. So what would you say was your favorite class that you've taken at South, and how has it come to shape you?
That's a good one. I think that I have really enjoyed, I can't just pick one, so I want to say I have enjoyed honestly every LA class I've taken at South, and I've really enjoyed every history class I've taken at South. And so that's a lot of classes, but I think it's just like, it's mainly the way that everything connects, and then also the fact that the teachers are so invested in our improving as readers and writers, because I think that the district, and not just the district, I think a lot of us are like, the STEM classes are the ones that are always the hardest. You know, math and science give us the most stress because they're the ones that always have like tests every few weeks. And so LA and history are like very, very, they're very, very difficult classes too. But I think that the way that the teachers spin the classes so that you're working on your like both analytical side, but then also you're making sure that you have time and space to be creative. So yeah, and then I think my favorite class out of all of those, AP Lang in junior year. It's one of the hardest classes you might ever take as a South student, but it'll really teach you to grow as a writer and as a reader.
So you mentioned these classes, and these classes are like kind of related to like creativity. So would you say do you have any extracurriculars that are related to creativity?
So for me, I think that I was a part of the band from 9th to 10th grade, but then it turned out that I didn't have enough space in my schedule to continue with it. But I think for me, like, music has always been a really great way for me to relax. And so not even just for extracurriculars, but like playing your instrument as a hobby can definitely be a really great way for me to like wind down, relax a little bit. And then for extracurriculars, I would say that I really just enjoyed writing and reading, not for other people, but then mainly for myself. And so I think that's a big thing, like having things that are maybe just things that you do for yourself to stay mindful and like stay relaxed.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like taking AP Lang and history courses were your favorite subjects. For me, my favorite subject is kind of history, and that's also why I'm taking option 2 over the summer for history, because it's one of my favorite subjects. And I never really played an instrument, but for me personally, a way to wind down and explore my hobbies is probably baking and reading, but those are kind of my interests.
For me, I definitely think I like to have my creative space sometimes. So like I love art, so sometimes I'll like do digital art or whatever it might be, like just like drawing in general. But I also like, I don't know, I feel like it's not necessarily what it is. I feel like it's just like maybe whatever it might be, just like doing something to wind down and just getting my brain to calm down. And sometimes I even meditate. So like every day I feel like it like differentiates, but like, yeah, I'd definitely say like just drawing in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I had another question. So obviously you were given the title of valedictorian for your school, which is like obviously like such a huge accomplishment. So I just wanted to congratulate you on that. And I had a question in regards to that actually. So what do you think like was it your goal to become valedictorian throughout high school, and how like what was your mindset to like reaching that goal?
Yeah, of course. And thank you. I actually didn't go into high school expecting or even wanting to come out as the valedictorian. I think that, my mindset mainly throughout high school was that I wanted to take the difficult classes because that was kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to challenge myself. And, if I could get A's in those classes, like that would be really good. And so I think that I definitely put pressure on myself to do well in my individual classes, but I actually didn't really realize until like maybe the beginning of senior year that I was even in the running to be the valedictorian. And, I think that especially here in WWP, these titles are separated by like thousands or like hundreds of a decimal point. And so I think no, I don't think like I went into high school like anticipating that I would become the valedictorian or like expecting that I would be. But I think I definitely was aware that, me and like maybe a few of my friends were in the contending for the title, but I don't think that it ever, I never really allowed it to affect my mindset in a way where it would be like toxic or competitive, like with regard to classes. So yeah, I hope that answers the question in some way.
Yeah, I think that was a really good way of answering the question. Yeah, you definitely answered it. So maybe to kind of wrap up the episode, I was just wondering if you could answer one last question by saying what is some general advice you'd give to underclassmen that are like coming into high school?
Yeah, I would say, okay, give me a second. I would say try everything. And I think that's something that I didn't do. I think I personally stuck to the things that I knew that I wanted to continue exploring. But I'm also walking out of high school now with a few regrets that I didn't join some clubs, and I didn't take some classes because I couldn't fit them into my schedule. So I would say that if you want to do something, do it, because high school is really like it really is like one of your only opportunities to do things with no strings attached, or like relatively no strings attached, and like just taking that taking chances and trying out new things, that's really, really priceless. And so I would definitely recommend that you do that. And also I think a big thing is just trying to broaden your perspective. Being in high school, it can be very, very easy to just like see not past your own line of view. But there's a lot of stuff going on out there. And so, you guys are doing a really, really great thing with this podcast, like bringing these issues to like our doorstep, making people aware, and through such a creative platform. I really commend you guys for doing that. And so, yeah, I think everybody should, take as many opportunities as they can to, consider things beyond themselves.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that compliment. That means a lot to us.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us on this episode. It was really great having you on our platform, and we love talking to you about these, different kinds of ideas and, issues.
But like high schooler space in general. I feel like a lot of times, even for me, I feel like I'm like lost, and I feel like there's never like a set answer. Like everyone's journey through high school is different, but like giving us that advice is definitely like so helpful. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad I could offer a little bit of insight. And you know, I'm still just getting started too. You know, just as long as I'm happy to help as you guys, you know, like get through high school as well. And yeah, like I wish you guys all the best of luck.
Thank you so
Thank
much. We wish
you.
you the best at Princeton, right? Princeton. We wish you the best
Yeah.
there. Congrats on valedictorian.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Have a great day. Bye.